All right, it's 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kimberly M. Starks, accredited public relations practitioner and principal consultant of the specialist communications firm Blue Scorpion Reputation Management. We have the distinct pleasure of having Andrew Greenberg, executive director of the Georgia Game Developers Association, join us this evening in our discussion about leading game developers converging on this year's Siege. Welcome, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me back. I'm amazed that after the first time I spoke on your program, you let me back in the studio, virtual or otherwise.
Well, you are very important to the gaming community, so we love to have you, and you have so much to share. So I can't wait to share with our viewers more about you. So let's get started. So let me tell you about Andrew. Andrew Greenberg is the director of the Southern Interactive Entertainment and Games Expo and commissioner of the Georgia Esports League, and has been organizing large-scale events both domestically and internationally for decades. In addition to Siege and GEL, he also helped organize the Mythic Journeys conferences that brought Deepak Chopra, Janice Ian, Robert Bly, Joyce Carol Oates, and many more to Atlanta. He has organized environmental design conferences in the US and Mexico, and helped direct the Human Forum of Puerto Rico that brought together numerous Nobel Prize winners, activists, and others to demonstrate the power of people making a difference. Greenberg chairs the DeKalb Entertainment Commission and serves on the Georgia Film, Music, and Digital Entertainment Commission. Again, welcome, Andrew. So glad to have you on the platform this evening.
Very glad to be here. And I should add, I just relaunched one of my older games. Emperor of the Fading Suns is now available on GOG.com. So check it out. One of my classic old games from the mid-90s with HDI.
Oh, that's amazing. So yes, let's pause. I want to hear more about your game development background. You tout so many of the game developers in the community in Georgia, but let's hear about your history.
Sure. Well, I've been doing it professionally since '90. Okay. I was the original developer of a game called Vampire the Masquerade, worked on a lot of games known as the World of Darkness series, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension, the Vampire the Eternal Struggle card game, the Rage card game, and more, before I went off with some other very good game developers to form Holistic Design. That's where we did games like Emperor of the Fading Suns, our Fading Suns role-playing game, which we just released for a 4th edition from Ulysses Spiel. So check that out. The Kickstarter backers are already getting their books. We've got a lot more great books coming out from that. And we did our Merchant Prince series, also known as Machiavelli the Prince. Mall Tycoon, always been amazed that this game, which had almost no budget, became one of our best sellers, did over 1 million units of Mall Tycoon, building malls. Worked on Warhammer Final Liberation, Warhammer 40K with our company. I've worked on other people's games, worked on a bunch of Star Trek games with a variety of companies and a bunch more. So it's been a great opportunity over the years, and I've enjoyed it significantly. And it's been also very rewarding working with other people in their games. And now I love the many different ways people are interacting with games these days. We just put on our latest Georgia Esports League tournament with Georgia State University's Pantherland, had thousands of views this past weekend, almost 20 different colleges competing for more than $4,000, went really well. So yeah, there's so many ways people interact with games, but I still think making them is one of the best things you can do with games.
Yes, I would imagine so. And you've had a 30-year career in making games, and so you've seen the evolution and where we are now. So talk a little bit about that. I would love to hear what you think about, the evolution over the years.
What I most enjoy is the recognition of the community that comes with gaming. So the tabletop games I've always played, you can't play them without friends. You always have to have friends around you. You are part of a community when you are playing these games. That's why we have all these conventions that we started around playing games and meeting other folks with similar interests. But for a long time, gaming had the image that it was one person in a basement, even though most of the great games were multiplayer in one way or another. And now we've gotten to the situation where games like Animal Crossing, everyone admits it's how you socialize.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing about Animal Crossing is not playing the game, it's socializing with other people, visiting their islands, and so forth. And this is true for most of the great games now, especially the esports titles. It's the community that does it. One of the old sayings, one of my business partners told me, which I've adopted, is that games are just great databases, and the better the game, the better you hide the fact that it's a database. But that's no longer the truth about what makes a successful game. It's not hiding the database, it's building that community. And any game that ignores the community of people who love it and play it, those are the ones that are doomed for failure. And those who best support their communities are the ones that are going to be successful. We as developers have known that, but we've never built to it as much as we are now. We always said, with HDI, we built games that we knew people like us would want to play. So we had this community in mind of strategy gamers, folks who like deep, detailed games that could go on for hours. But it's become even more true now. We are building games for people who we care about, and we hope they care about the games that we make.
Yes, it's become so important in everyone's lives, especially during this time where we're having to social distance, and everyone still wants to have that sense of community, and video gaming is the best place to do that. So
it's amazing how many people are doing their business in games. I mean, the Red Dead Redemption campfires became very popular early on in the pandemic, but now it's any kind of game that's got any sort of community. The amount of people conducting business and using gaming industry chat groups like Discord or whatever, it's been amazing. And hey, we even got people in chat. Hi, Stephen. Speaking of communities.
Yes. Hi, Stephen. Great. So you have such experience in organizing around video game development. So talk about Siege and how Siege came to be.
So in the late 90s, we did have a very significant game development community here in Georgia. And then in the early aughts, shortly after the George Bush Jr. took office, there was a giant recession, and it wiped out these companies. There was a period when there were only 2 game development studios in the state, Holistic Design and another one of a friend of ours. And everyone else was moved out of state. There were no jobs for them whatsoever. They left. And over the next few years, we recovered to the point where in 2005, we began the year with 5 studios in the entire state.
Right.
And really, we decided we couldn't let this happen again. There had to be a mutually supportive industry. I began working on the Siege conference at the same time some other people began developing the Georgia Game Developers Association. Okay. And we came together with a similar purpose. How do we build a self-sustaining game industry here in Georgia that could last no matter what ill winds of the economy might hit it and buffet it about? So we started the first Siege in 2007. I definitely enjoyed it. It was funny because we focused 2 parts then on the academics, the students and professors, and on the professionals. So really that was our entire focus of it. And over the years, that focus has really grown and expanded. We've changed from that narrow focus on development to adding the college fair, to adding the investment conference, to adding the Indie Cluster Awards, to adding a lot of esports events, to adding all the live streaming, to adding the networking, to adding the parties and gaming and so forth. And it's been interesting how many different aspects you can have to something like this that are all feel now like they're a core part of the entire experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it certainly is. And I like that you gave the backstory of how Siege came to be, because industry-wide, Siege is the largest conference in the Southeast. Talk about now where Siege is now, where the video gaming industry is now in terms of the impact economically.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm here wearing my Siege badge right now. We're going to have new Siege badges, probably courtesy of Hi-Res Studios and their new Rogue Company game. So that's part of it. We've got these giant companies like high res, 500 employees, millions and millions in sales coming in from around the world. It has gone from a couple smaller studios to now over 160 studios around the state. We've, of course, got these large industries in North Carolina with Epic Games, in Florida with not just EA, but a lot of sim developers and the like. Alabama, we've got good game developers in Huntsville. There's an industry trying to grow in Tennessee, and we're very glad to have all these disparate communities come down to Georgia to become involved with each other and learn from one another. The economic impact of the industry just in Georgia is well over $800 million a year. We've got now 2,000 or so people working in the game and sim industries, and many more in related industries. And it's just amazing how many people, the big film industry here is hiring out of gaming for things like film pre-visualization, the number of folks working on VR and AR for entertainment and for training and for marketing. The growth has just been extreme. In fact, the GGDA, in order to keep up with the demand that we're seeing for game developers, we got a grant from Epic Games to train professors in teaching the Unreal Engine, because it is more than games. It's pre-vision, special effects for films and games. It's audio. It's driverless cars. It's so many different areas now. So and having a robust game industry in Georgia allows all these other industries to spin off from it and grow at a strong rate as well.
You're so right. It's more than just about the video gaming industry. If I would like for you to share for our audience members who don't quite necessarily know what is involved in the video gaming industry, what professions come out of the video gaming industry, and who or what other professions, if you will, support the video gaming industry.
Yeah, there are few other industries that have this disparate a mix of disciplines or this interdisciplinarian in their nature. Obviously, you have the programmers, but you have all sorts of different programmers. You have the AI programmers, networking programmers, graphic programmers, engine programmers. A wide variety of programming talents are required. On the art side, you've got 3D artists, you've got modelers, you've got the folks who make the textures, you have the concept artists, you have the animators, the riggers, you have the technical artists, you have the what are now called ZBrush artists who really get the fine details going. You have 2D artists, the pixel pushers. So you've got folks who are just making the UI and the UX, both the designers and the artists. Every button, someone's got to draw that button, create the art for that button as well as what it does. Those are both designers and artists. You've got a wide community of audio specialists, the music, the sound effects, the voiceovers. You have voiceover actors who are part of it. Where you've got the growing field of AR and VR folks coming into it as well. With wearables, we've got traditional engineers talking about how to make this work with wearables. It's been amazing seeing the explosive growth of things like Pokemon Go. And you have to have folks who really understand how to use the GPS data, how to work with all of that. And of course, you've got everybody you need in a traditional business sense, the marketing, the sales, the legal, the administrative, and you need that army of playtesters to make sure your game ain't broke. So it's a huge audience. And what I love is we've really brought in new fields into being, like the community management specialists. This was necessary for both game industry and esports. You had to have folks who could work with your community, essentially be the advocate for your fans within the company. And now it's like every Fortune 500 company in the world is adding these people. And of course, now we have all the different esports folks, social media managers who have to be really deeply involved in what's going on with the game. I love the work that these folks do and how well they can represent both companies and the fan bases.
Yes. So there is explosive growth, and it sounds like the growth and the expansion continues, which is a good thing.
And don't let me forget those live streamers like yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's talk more about Siege. So tell us, Andrew, what is the biggest difference this year versus last year's Siege?
Going virtual. We are purely virtual this year, not in the hotels. Means we could get speakers we otherwise could not get to come here for the weekend. Will Wright is someone I've been talking to for about a decade to come to Siege, and he will be our keynote Friday at 3 p.m. on the 13th. Really looking forward to that presentation. He's also doing a stealth presentation to a bunch of the college kids in this area, but I can't tell you about that. We have a number of folks from other places coming to talk, as well as our usual great group of speakers from around the Southeast. Again, speakers from Alabama, Huntsville, North Carolina, Georgia, and so forth. And of course, the bulk of our speakers are those great developers in Georgia. So officially, we start with our college fair on the 12th, Thursday the 12th, both in the morning and in the evening. We'll be running a bunch of STEM and STEAM sessions for the students to learn about game development and directing them to go talk to the colleges. We've got about 250 slots still available for that. We're limiting attendance to 1,000. So if you know a high school student or are in high school, you can get them directed to this. Michael, you're too old now. Thanks for joining us in chat, though. On Friday the 13th, we will be having our 10th annual investment conference. Great lineup of companies pitching, and definitely our most significant lineup of panelists, of investors, more VC firms than ever before. Again, this is one of those things with having a pandemic. Investors and companies that normally couldn't make it to be there physically can be there for the virtual part of it. So it's a great lineup of investors there. 10 great companies are going to pitch. The pitches and the panelists will all be in Zoom, but we will be live streaming that on www.youtube.com/Georgia Game Devs. Look for Georgia Game Devs on YouTube. Follow us and get notified when we go live with that live stream. And then the main Siege conference starts at 3 p.m. on Friday with the Will Wright keynote. And following that, we've just got this amazing lineup of sessions from then on through the weekend. I mean, I talked about all the sessions on Unreal. We also talked about how to sell your game in Steam, how to create user-generated content. Samsung's coming on board to talk about the new markets that exist for mobile gaming. We've got sessions on the Unity and Unreal game engines. We've got a wonderful look at some rather arcane, I shouldn't say arcane, less popular places to put your game, the fantasy consoles such as the Pico 8 and the TIC 80. We've got a great roundtable on neurodivergence in the workplace. The workplace for game development is an amazing place of all sorts of people. One thing I love about the Georgia game development community is it is definitely the most racially diverse I've seen anywhere in the world. But you've got all different levels of ability, and I love seeing that coming about. We've got a great presentation on intergenerational game design, making games that people will want to play together in different generations. One thing I love seeing before the pandemic, and especially now, are grandparents and their grandchildren getting together by playing games online and having hours of quality time together every week instead of maybe 1 hour of distant time together. We'll be doing a bunch of networking on our Discord channel. Okay. We'll be having more keynotes. Aaron Hoffman John will be talking about finding meaning in game development. Nick Lang, who's been our only repeat keynote, will be returning to talk about putting together a video game publishing framework, what you need to publish your game. We'll be introducing all sorts of new tools, doing workshops on some of the more in-depth tools like Unreal and some of the easier prototyping tools like Twine, and the Fusion engine that anybody can use to make prototypes or go professional with their own games. One of the highlights of Sunday for me is going to be a discussion on how to handle crisis communications, how to handle the sensitive topics that are coming up. And I believe someone else on this live stream will be part of that panel at 1 p.m. on Sunday.
Yes, such an important topic.
And then we've got the head of the Cartoon Network Game Studio talking about how to create depth in small games. Then a great panel from the Georgia Scholastic Esports Foundation on how to educate youth through esports. So all in all, just an amazing lineup of sessions, of panels, of workshops. We'll be putting up registration for the workshops on Friday, but anyone can attend those presentations via our live stream for free.
What I love about Siege is that there's something for everyone, for those who are just entering the industry, all the way to your seasoned professionals. So there's no limit as to, the information that you can consume, which is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely right. That's always been a key part of this. We have got so many people just getting into the industry here in Georgia. We've always wanted to support them, but then we've got these high-level expert devs. We want to make sure they hear from the greatest thinkers and speakers like Will Wright, like Nick Lang, and others who can learn from. Anyone can learn from Brad Merritt. There's always more to learn. So that's exactly right. This different levels of everyone from the most introductory students to the most grizzled old veterans. Yeah, definitely a place for all of them.
Veterans.
So. Yeah.
So, share with us, Andrew, this year, since the formatting is different, how will we network? What will that look like?
That's right. Obviously, we want people to chat in our live stream, but really we're going to be driving you all to our Discord channel. In our Discord, after every presentation, the speakers will retire to our Discord to answer your questions there in voice. So you will have the chance, just like you would at Siege, to go talk to to all of our speakers, hang out with them, hang out with other Siege members, hear what their questions are, hear what their concerns are. And even when the speakers aren't answering questions, you get to stay in there and continue to interact with your other developers. We're going to have special networking events on Saturday, the 14th, after we're done. We're going to have some gaming tournaments, as well as a chance for everyone really to talk about what they're up to. And we hope recruit new team members.
Wonderful.
At Siege.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yes. So one of my favorites of Siege is being able to see those games that are in development from our game devs, from the game dev community. So how and who can we anticipate seeing this year?
Absolutely. So we are giving away $1,500 in prizes in our Silver Excellence and Indie Game Production Awards. And there are a number of very good games that are going forward already. In fact, last week we had our first live stream showing some of the games, and we'll be having our next live stream tomorrow via Twitch. So you can find information about that at ggda.org. And some of the games I'm just fascinated by. They have this great VR game, Vertical Shift. It's like a great capture the flag game with crazy Spider-Man acrobatics involved in it. Video Hole is this hilarious game about working in a video store. Just wild stuff. Baby Adopter has been an amazingly successful game on Facebook and iOS. That'll be competing. We've got Zap Blastem, which is another great locally made indie game. Pushimo, which is this really fun puzzle game, similar in some ways to Tetris, but I love your different ways of maneuvering blocks to make things happen. Really fun, quick game. One of those games I like to think of as having the real quick gaming bite, where you play it for a couple minutes, have a very satisfying experience. You really want to go on, but you can go do something else, come back to it later, that sort of idea. Other mobile games coming out like Tilt Bill, and a few I'm still looking forward to seeing for the first time myself, like Potato Paradox Plus.
Oh, that's
BRG's Tale of the Gallant Jiraiya. So yeah, they're games I don't know anything about yet that I'm looking forward to trying. So lots of good stuff. The next stream will be, like I said, tomorrow. And of course, we'll have folks talking about the biggest games we have locally. Things like Killing Floor, the Rogue Company game I talked about before. We're going to have our regular rants, so expect them to be ranting about all kinds of games. Nick Lang just launched the very popular New World MMO with Amazon.
Oh, great.
And Will Wright has a new game he's going to be releasing tools for at Siege. So if you want to be the very first to get your hands on what Will Wright is working on right this moment, join us at Siege.
That's great. That is amazing. Now, you also mentioned tournaments that will take place. Talk about that.
So we're not doing our usual esports tournament this year. Instead, we're doing virtual board gaming tournaments. A very popular thing at Siege over past years has been our board gaming, and we've given away prizes and the like. This year, there has been a very successful Georgia board game called Flashpoint, where you cooperatively try to put out a fire. Not a real fire, but board game fire. I hope you didn't set on fire to play the game, but cooperatively you try and put out a fire in this game. And now we're going to be doing it via virtual tabletop, and we'll be running that as a tournament with prizes.
Nice. All right. Now, if we can, you've named some of our indie game developers, but let's do a roll call of some of our larger game companies that will be joining us as well. You mentioned Hi-Rez.
Well, certainly we have Tripwire Interactive here. The Cartoon Network Game Studio is another great one. We know we'll have viewers from Ubisoft. Unfortunately, we don't have a presentation from Ubisoft this year. They've done some great ones on esports for us in the past. That's their Blue Mammoth studio here in Georgia. We've got Ryan Klein from Laserbread Games, who's worked on the very popular American Army games. We've got one who I can't talk about, but she works for one of the biggest companies in the world as a lead games designer, but unfortunately I'm not allowed to mention it yet. We'll have Samsung out, as I mentioned before. Yeah, just a great mix of people in studios, both major and minor.
So this is just going to be an epic year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great who we've managed to pick up for this for this one. Absolutely.
Yes, very excited about it. So you've wrapped everything in a nice bow in describing Siege, but share with us how you'd want for us to spread the word about Siege amongst our friends in our network.
Absolutely. The easiest thing is the website, siegecon.net, SIEGECON.net. Has our schedule up there, links to the YouTube channel. We really would like you to follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get reports when all these great live streams start happening. That's one of the best things that you can do in order to stay involved with it. We have a newsletter at ggda.org that you can sign up and get information. Please join our Facebook group, whose name, well, just look for Georgia Game Developers Association on Facebook. Certainly follow our Twitter at ggda_org. And one of the best will be our Discord, and we'll be sharing the links to Discord during those live streams. So follow and subscribe for those live streams, and then you can get into our Discord channel.
Great. Now, I do have to ask, for those artists and for those who support the gaming industry, share with me, where do they fit in at Siege?
And that reminds me, thank you for reminding me, that something that's not up on our website is that Larry Elmore, one of the greatest fantasy artists there is, worked on a bunch of the Dungeons and Dragons books and many more, will be joining us to do a live drawing workshop. He did one of these at Siege before. Again, one of those people is very hard to get to actually be here. He will be doing this from Kentucky. But that's going to be a great one. Yeah, there's a lot of room for artists in this of all stripes. Obviously, those 2D concept artists, we need them. We look for their work. But we will be doing an actual collaborative character art session with prizes on Saturday morning. So at 11 a.m. we'll have one of that workshop going on as well. So yeah, you are correct. A lot of great opportunities. A lot of great ways for artists to get involved with this. And really, we need more artists in this. The demands for art and code are phenomenal. And that's why you've got such great schools as SCAD, Full Sail, and others going full steam ahead on getting their students involved, and why the companies keep visiting them to get those students working in their studios. Right.
So again, viewers, you've heard it here first. There is something for practically everyone at Siege. So this will be a jammed-packed session over the course of a number of days for everyone to participate. And it's truly exciting because we've got people that will be joining us from near and far. So that's always a good thing.
I forgot, people can always look here to get more info.
Yes, that's right. The Georgia Game Developers Association. So, you know what, that's a great segue for us to talk a little bit about the Georgia Game Developers Association. We focus so much on Siege, but yes, let's talk about the GGDA.
Absolutely. So again, yeah, we are a nonprofit trade association focusing on advancing the industry here in Georgia. SIEGE is a big part of our workforce development / continuing education efforts, ensuring that people really understand what's going on with the industry. We will also be using it for our public affairs side. We will be announcing some of the results of our most recent economic impact study. So looking forward to that as well. The GGDA works in a number of different ways. Obviously, we work with the colleges. We work with high schools as well. Georgia Southern University has this great grant right now to teach Unity to middle schoolers in Middle Georgia. So we're getting them industry experts to talk to the students about using Unity in business for games and otherwise. We do the trainings with things like with Epic for professors. We go to schools to talk on career days. We interact with politicians, anyone who's got an idea of what goes on with the game industry. We interact with the economic development professionals because these are the kind of jobs that people want in their communities. Work with the VR community, the AR community, training, all of these different organizations. We have more than 600 members. Anyone can join at ggda.org. We ask that you be involved in the game industry in some capacity, but we've expanded. We involve the esports competitors. We involve the live streamers. Anyone who either is working professionally in the game industry or is working toward that goal, be it as a passion or as their actual livelihood. So we do have a student rate. We do have a professional rate. We do have bigger rates for the various companies who are members. And obviously, there are a lot of companies that have joined us over the years. And we interact with a lot of the other types of companies that have an interest in the game industry but aren't necessarily in that space. So the Turners of the world will be involved with them, with other audio companies that want to sell music or sound effects and the like to the games industry. So it is an amazingly large community of game developers and even larger community of people who are interested in games.
Yes. And again, touching on the story that you shared with us about the birth of SIEGE and the growth of the industry from then in the early and mid 2000s to where we are now, it is just huge. So as we conclude our discussion, if you will, Andrew, just touch again on the economic impact that video game development has had in Georgia. I think we can't underscore that enough.
Oh, absolutely. And we talk about the tax credit that exists for films that brought all those film jobs to Georgia, hiring thousands and thousands of people, putting billions of dollars into the state economy. There's a much smaller credit for the game industry, $12.5 million total. But out of that credit, we've gotten stimulated this robust, very strong industry. Like I said, about 800 million economic impact, over 400 million in sales going on every year. All of this money coming in, not just from outside Georgia and the United States, but internationally. We used to be having this tremendous brain drain. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we were losing all these all these great game devs, tech people, artists, etc. when the industry crashed here. Now kids are graduating college and just staying here with these great skills. And they might end up doing something else. They might stay in games. They might go to film. They might start an internet security company. But we're keeping all this incredible talent we were otherwise losing. And while the dollars that we make for this state are amazing, tax money, payroll, etc., what I think is even more impressive is keeping all these great people here who otherwise would now be in California, Texas, Washington State, New York, and not here.
Right. So this is really important, and this is really just a great thing to have the GGDA here and to have SIEGE on an annual basis. So I want to thank you, Andrew, for taking the time to come onto this platform to share with us all that's in store next week. I am super excited. And to our viewers, I hope that you are too. If you don't mind, Andrew, sharing with us one more time where we need to go to access SIEGE next week.
Absolutely. Start off at siegecon.net, SIEGE con.net. But you can also go to ggda.org. And really what you need to do is get on YouTube and follow and subscribe to the Georgia Game Devs, Georgia Game DEVS, Georgia Game Devs channel, and be ready for an excellent weekend of fun, learning, and great skill development and great community.
Wonderful. And to access the conversations afterward on Discord, where should we go?
We'll be sharing the Discord link in the live stream chats.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I want to, again, thank you so much for coming on and talking about the GGDA and Siege. And we look forward to seeing everyone who is tuned in today there at the conference on next week. Again, I'm Kimberly M. Starks, accredited public relations practitioner. Please visit Blue Scorpion Reputation Management on our website at bluereputation.today. And Andrew, of course, as new things develop in the gaming community, we always want for you to come back so that you can share it with us.
Always a pleasure to be back. Thank you, Kimberly.
Yes, thank you. And this concludes our time. Thank you to everyone who tuned in this evening, and you all have a great night. Have a good evening, Andrew.
Take care, everyone.
All right.